Hello, welcome back to Buckle Up. My name is Rob Wilson and this is the new Honda Civic, and today I'm going to find out if it's now the king of the family hatchbacks. Okay, so let's start at the front as we always do, and the first thing I want to talk about is the honeycomb grills. This is a recurring theme throughout the new Civic, and I'll show you a couple more of those features on the inside. But at the front we've got some matte black plastic, not gloss, makes it a bit more sporty and just generally a more grown-up design. It's sleeker, it's smoother, and I actually prefer the less fussy design of this generation, the 11th generation of Civic, to the previous gen. Anyway, that's probably about enough about the front, so let's go and see what's going on at the side. So it's worth pointing out that this is the Sport trim. There are two trims you can get on the new Civic, this and Advance. This is technically the base spec, although it's called Sport. Anyway, that means you get some gloss black alloy wheels, and you also get a black wing mirror cover, so it's nice and sporty. And then just generally the design of the Civic has become way more fastback-y than in the previous generations, following on from, you know, the one that had the space rocket handles and triangle exhausts. It's following on from that sort of evolution of Civic, but you still get a nice hatchback at the back. So let's go and see how that affects the boot. Okay, so now we're at the back of the new Civic, and the first thing I want to talk about, you might not expect it, is the rear wiper, because it's actually got one. A lot of manufacturers would say because of this sleek aerodynamic shape it doesn't need one, the water will simply run off, which is a load of nonsense and it never works. So I'm glad it's got one. In terms of other features back here, you have a bar that goes across the whole width at the back, and this center section is actually your third brake light. There is nothing up here. There is a slight diffuser, if you want to use that word, at the bottom. It's trying to be sporty, but this badge here dictates that while it might look sporty, it's actually supposedly good for the environment. But I will talk more about what this entails when we drive it. So for now, I shall just open up the boot, see what's going on in there. It opens with a hatch as well, which is good, practical. 410 litres of boot space, which is rather large, and if you fold the back seats down, that goes up to 1,220 litres, which is massive. It's actually a really good shape. There is a slight hump in the floor because of the hybrid gubbins that is hidden under there, but it's a nice wide opening. The lip's not too big, and there's lots of space in there for all of your stuff. The most important feature in the boot though is this, which is your parcel shelf, and it opens sideways. Look at that. Why does no one else do that? That's genius. It means that you can unclip it and it's that big. You don't have to carry around this massive parcel shelf that doesn't actually fit in the car. When you take it out, you've got to leave it in your garage or something like that. This is good. I like this. Pop that back. Anyway, that's about enough of the boot and its space. So let's go and see if the back seats are equally as practical. Okay, so now I'm in the back and I've taken my massive coat off because I don't really need it on in here. But let's talk about the space that I have back here, because I've got plenty of knee room. This seat is set up in my driving position. For reference, I am 6'2" or 188 centimeters tall. I can also quite nicely fit my feet under the seat in front. They slide under there really easily, so that's good. I can stretch my legs out. Headroom, despite the fastback shape to the exterior, it doesn't actually impede too badly on headroom. If I sit bolt upright, then my head does touch, but you don't sit like that. You slouch a little bit when you're in a car, and if I'm doing that, it's perfectly fine. My head isn't touching the roof. In terms of what things you've got back here, you've got a central armrest, which has got two cup holders, a small one and a big one. If I put that back out of the way, down here you've got some aircon vents, so you can get some heating into the back, and two USB-A's in the back as well, so you can charge your phones. You have a seat back pocket on the passenger seat. Also, practicality wise, you've got a door bin which is big enough for a bottle of water, but not really much else. You've got Isofix on the outer seats if you want to fit a child seat, and the doors open quite wide, so it shouldn't be too difficult to fit one of those. In terms of materials back here, you've got cloth seats on the central parts, and then this, I'm going to guess it's not leather, that surrounds them. It'll be a faux leather, as everything is moving towards that these days. Tops of the doors, it is hard plastic, but where you would actually rest your arm on the armrest, it's lovely and squidgy, and that's great. So let's move into the front and see what's going on up there. Right, so now we're in the front of the new Civic, and well, there's so much to talk about. Let's start by talking about the honeycomb designs that are followed through into the cabin. So this massive central air vent, which it's only actually a proportion of it that directs the air, but it goes the full width of that side of the cabin, and that's all honeycomb, as is the aircon vent on this side as well. So there's some tying together of the design outside and in. In terms of your technology, you've got a screen that's stuck on the dashboard, a bit like an iPad, but it's quite good. It's in your eye line. You can connect your Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but you do need to do that via a wire. It isn't wireless, but you do get wireless phone charging. So if your phone is capable of that, you just pop it in this little pad down here and it'll charge it up for you, which is good. Another charger, you've got a 12 volt socket there if you want to plug something in. I can't tell you how nice it is to be in a new car and have physical climate controls that you can actually twist with a dial and press buttons. It's fantastic. As is the fact that you can press a heated seat button. You don't have to go into the screen to sort it all out. Big thumbs up for Honda for sticking with physical controls. I don't know why everything has to go into a screen. It's just stupid and a little bit dangerous, actually. So practicality wise, we've got two big cup holders up here which I can fit a bottle of water in, nice and easy. I've just pulled the bottle of water from the door bin, which can fit a bottle of water, and actually it's got a bit more space in there for other stuff as well. You've got a decent glove box, which is mostly taken up by the manual, as most of them are these days. But you also get some storage in here as well, so it's not the end of the world, and you get a little removable tray which can go either side of there. Not really sure what you would use that for. I guess you could put coins in there if you were at a car park or a toll or something like that. That's quite useful. In terms of what else you've got in here technology wise, this is the Sport, so it doesn't have the full digital driver's display, but it is part digital, and that's nice and clear in front of you, gives you all the relevant information. On your steering wheel, you've got your volume controls that sort out all the different screens in there as well. And then on this side, you've got your cruise control, which is adaptive, standard, lane keep assist, all of that stuff, safety systems you can sort from there. Down in the centre, you have what would have been a gear lever or lever back in the day. It's now all buttons, so it's P for park, N for neutral, D for drive, and then you pull back on the reverse one and that gets you into reverse. You've also further down got your drive mode, so you can flick between sport and eco and all of that usual stuff that you can do nowadays. And you've got an electronic handbrake with brake hold, so it will hold it on a hill for you basically and won't roll backwards, which is great. In terms of materials, again, everything feels very nice, that you actually would be pressing your arms on, so this is nice and soft. The tops of the doors are actually soft in the front, unlike in the back, and the dashboard's nice and squidgy as well, so that's good. Interesting use of materials. It's a little bit grey, But having things like the honeycomb design, the difference of like soft materials, gloss black, and then this weird sort of, I don't know what it is, but it's not quite carbon fiber, but it's not just something else, but it's a nice like tactile material. So yeah, that's the front. What I want to do now is go out and drive it, because I'm very interested to see how this fares up. The old Civic was quite a good handling car, so I want to see if that's still the case on this new one. Let's go. Okay, so out on the open road in the new Honda Civic, and I have to start off by saying how pleasantly surprised I am by how well this car drives. Handling is honestly just so nicely set up. It's the steering weight is pretty much spot on. The damping is excellent. It rides quite harshly, but it's still comfortable at the same time. So when I put my foot down, so you can hear the engine there, right? And it sounds like it's changing gear, but it isn't, because it isn't. This is Honda's eCVT, and this is a little bit complicated to explain, but I'll do my best. So this is a hybrid car in the traditional sense. So there is a 2-litre petrol engine, no turbochargers, no superchargers, just naturally aspirated. And then that is mated with 2 electric motors. Now it's only very small battery, like 1 point something kilowatts, so very small, but basically most of the time this is being powered and driven by the electric motors. The petrol engine is there partly as a generator, but it also can directly drive the wheels when it's more efficient to do so. So for example, if you were on a motorway. But what Honda have done is to make that feel more like a conventional gearbox rather than a CVT, is they've engineered in actual delays or pauses in the engine and the drive, so it feels and sounds and acts like it's changing gear, but it never actually is. It's quite a weird solution, and only something I feel that Honda could come up with, but that's what they've done. And I have to say, it doesn't feel like a CVT, and it doesn't drone like a CVT. It goes through, or it sounds like it's going through the gears, and therefore it's more natural to your ears, your senses. You feel like you're in a conventional automatic. Now the problem is that I know, you know probably, Honda used to, and still do, make some of the best manual gearboxes out there. They are so good to use. They're just crisp, perfect, brilliant, love them. And the new Civic isn't available with one unless you get the Type R. Now the Type R is nearly £50,000, so a bit much for most people, certainly too much for me. But this Civic, the normal Civic, and pretty much all of Honda's other cars in its range is now eCVT only, no manuals. And while that does detract slightly from the fun driving experience, it more than makes up for it in its handling capabilities and how it drives that chassis. Put my foot down, there's the engine. It sounds like it's revving, but it's not. It's just doing the same thing again and then cutting the power. So you can sort of pick up on it, because it doesn't sound like a conventional gearbox where the tone changes. Yeah, it's a weird one. I I struggle to explain it because, to be brutally honest, I don't fully understand it. But for a CVT, it works. So power, we've got a 180 horsepower, 315 newton meters of torque, and that means 0 to 60 is dealt with in a very respectable 7.9 seconds, which is sort of warm hot hatch territory. When I do put my foot down a little bit and we're on some back roads, I can tell you that the steering is very direct, and it actually has feel, and it's weighted really nicely. The throttle response is good, especially if you put it in sport, which you can change with the modes that I showed you earlier. Yeah, this is really well put together. Someone has sat down and thought about this and really honed and tweaked every little last detail to make sure that it's as engaging to drive as it possibly can be. Yeah, that's really quite impressive. For just a normal hatchback, this is really up there. I think it might be best in class. It's that good. Other things to talk about, well, the brakes, they're actually very well judged as well. It's not like a plug-in hybrid, say, where you can feel the regen and that sort of upsets the overall brake feel. Whatever Honda have done, that has been completely engineered out. The seating position's great. I've got excellent seats that we've actually got quite good bolstering on them. It's nice and comfortable. The steering wheel's a nice round shape. It doesn't have a flat bottom on it, which is good. I know that's deemed sporty if it's got a flat bottom on it, but it doesn't actually make it any good if you are driving in a spirited manner. And it's not really ridiculously thick like BMW ones. It's nicely. It's just great to hold. It's everything that can possibly be done for driver engagement seems to have been done, and done really well, apart from the manual gearbox not being there or available. Now, the main benefit of having the eCVT gearbox over a manual is efficiency. That's the upshot. It's been designed to be as efficient as it possibly can be. So you are going to get in the region of 50 miles to the gallon in the real world when you're driving one of these, if you're driving it sensibly. If you're driving it not sensibly, then you're not going to get those figures. It's going to be in the 30s and 40s, but 50 is achievable. I think Honda themselves claim 56 miles to the gallon on a combined cycle on the WLTP, but you're never ever actually going to achieve that because those are perfect lab conditions. Its main and basically only rival is the Toyota Corolla. So that's the only other hatchback I can think of that has a conventional hybrid setup. It's not a plug-in hybrid or anything like that. It's just normal hybrid, and this has been heavily benchmarked against it, and it beats it in pretty much every way. It's faster, it's more fuel efficient, it produces less CO2s. So on that front, Honda have done a really good job at benchmarking. They've also benchmarked it against cars like the BMW 1 Series, and I feel like they are really going after that sort of enthusiast, section of the market, because it shows. And if anyone drives this, they're going to think, wow, this is really good. Like, it actually shocked me how good this is to drive, because it's not, it's not the Type R. This is just the normal Civic, and it's bloody great, to be honest, to drive. Really good. Anyway, that's enough of me droning on about the really rather impressive new Civic. So I think what I'll do now is I'll pull back over and I'll do a bit of a conclusion for you. So, summing up the new Honda Civic? Is it the king of the hatchbacks? Well, I think I'm actually genuinely so surprised and love how well this car drives. It's great. I think it's better to drive than the Golf and the Astra, and even better than the hallowed Ford Focus. It's better looking to my eyes than the Mark 8 Golf, and its infotainment system actually works, so that's a good plus point. So therefore, overall, I think it has to be because it beats the Golf, it beats the Focus, and it beats the Astra, and those are the main players in this market. So yeah, well done Honda, genuinely impressed with this. So thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a like, comment down below if you've got something to say, and most importantly, please do subscribe if you're new around here. If you want to support the channel, you can do so in one of three ways. You can become a channel member, you can join our Patreon, or you can buy some lovely merch. And if you want to follow us in other fashions, all of our social media is linked in the description down below. So thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you next time. Goodbye.